Lightning Round Champions. You've guessed all the right Chevy clues. This season, spring into adventure together with Chevy of your choice. See your Southern Nevada Chevy dealers. NBA Summer League is coming back to Vegas July 12th through the 22nd. Log on to lvsportsnetwork.com and register to win tickets to the exclusive Michelob Ultra courtside deck, which includes complimentary food and drinks. Contest ends July 8th, so go to lvsportsnetwork.com and sign up today. The all-new 2025 Subaru Forester is the same trusted SUV it's always been, only more so. More distinctive style, more advanced safety technology, and always the confidence of standard symmetrical all-wheel drive. The all-new 2025 Subaru Forester. Love begins with trust. Get as low as 4.9% financing for 36 months on the all-new 2025 Forester. SubaruLasVegas.com.
If you need to sell your house,
Talk to Aaron Taylor.
you want to sell it fast and get the most cash. Talk to Aaron Taylor,
The real estate guy. Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy here. Do you know we're not just real estate experts? We're an advertising and marketing powerhouse specializing in selling residential and commercial properties. And we're just getting started. We offer 3 incredible solutions for our sellers to maximize their profits. First, we provide a cash advance with no interest. Need money now? We got you covered. Second, we handle all repairs and improvements up front to ensure you get the most money possible for your home. And third, you decide the commission you pay, as low as $1. Plus, we'll even buy your home for cash if that's what you need. Don't just take our word for it. Check out our hundreds of glowing reviews on Google or at therealestateguyLV.com. Call 702-310-MOVE. That's 702-310-6683. eXp Realty, license number 38886. Call for details.
talk to Aaron Taylor.
The real estate guy.
The Show Radio Network, sitting at the Rich Eisen Show desk, furnished by Granger with supplies and solutions for every industry. Granger has the right product for you. Call Granger.com. Just stop by. A minute and a half to go. We went long with Judge Reinhold because it was so great. Jimmy in San Antonio, you got the last word. What's up, Jimmy?
Oh, great. I get to follow Judge.
That was great. That was so much fun, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't as fun as your top 10 on the 80s funny movies, comedy movies.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Well, first of all, I thought your top 10 was solid.
Oh, thank you. So, he knows what he's saying to me. He knows what he's saying.
Well, and then I have to give you credit for putting Midnight Run. That's the equivalent of you getting about the golf hole one. You have respect for the audience. You cannot lie to us. It is not in the top 5. Your top 5 was on point. Midnight Run is number 6.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Jimmy.
Oh, Cisco, good to see it. Tell your young man son I said hello. Mine just turned 21 last night. So my young man is now legal. I'm going to try to throw out some texts. We're going to do a lot of Willie Mays today. I hope some people have a Willie Mays tribute call or want to say something.
You want to take for the open?
What are our options? What you have there? Yeah. I mean, what we can do on Willie Mays here.
Yeah, Willie Mays cuts if there's any ability to watch.
Yeah. How long's the retirement speech? 86.
Less than a minute.
Yep, have that one ready, and then maybe so that's the Hall of Fame speech?
The next one, yeah. But it's only like about 40 seconds.
The Hall of Fame speech and so the Hall of Fame speech and maybe
The Hall of Fame and the retirement.
the 4th home run in one game.
It's your
All right, good afternoon, Juan. I am Juan too. My name is Juan. I'm a John. I'm texting Reggie Jackson now to see if he's available.
Brought to you by Paul Paddle. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
All right, let's do some radio. The weather was beautiful. It wasn't as hot today. Yep. All right. Yo. Let's do a Willie Mays show and not talk about anything else. I mean, I'm going to do some Raiders stuff. Vinny Bonsignore will join us in studio, but I want to hear some Willie Mays stories, man. This is the god of sports, a god, a Mount Olympus god type figure. So I want to get some people kind of to wake up and get out of their Raider preseason cobwebs and talk sports with me on Willie Mays. We're going to talk a lot of other topics too, but that's my focus today. It's been a rough couple of weeks. Bill Walton, Jerry West, Jim Otto. Absolutely. It's been a rough road, man. Monty Williams got fired. They just gave him $65 million. Amazing.
Hi, we're the attorneys from Panda Law. Before you pay down debt with your tax refund, call Panda for a free debt analysis and learn how much you can save through our program.
With Panda, people getting $3,500 back and get rid of more than $10,000 in debt.
Start the year off right. Call Panda Law.
Good afternoon, Violator. Wow, what an honor to have Violator here, man. God, how cool is this? I can get show content from Violator, Cisco, the Black Hole, everybody else here.
I would think San Francisco would step up today.
I would hope San Francisco would step up today. I would hope New York steps up today. Check out the shirt I just got. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Go ahead. Hey, Cisco, what chapter is this? Go ahead and make my day. How cool is that? I gotta wear that. I gotta wear that at training camp.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Modelo.
Delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1925. Your afternoon Raiders fans with your boy Q on Unnecessary Roughness from 2 to 5 on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM KRLB Las Vegas.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's time for JT the Brick.
The Raider offseason is about content that is productive.
Shotgun to O'Connell. Backpedaling, lobbing to the end zone, trying to get at him. Makes the grab. Touchdown, Raiders.
I thought Aiden O'Connell played pretty well last year. He's a quarterback who's serviceable.
Now pressure. Gets out of there. Crosby's got it from behind. Back at the 45-yard line.
There's no better player who plays with heart and passion and speed than Mad Max Crosby. Wait till you see him this upcoming season.
JT the Brick.
Dodd to throw. Spillane on the blitz, and he wraps him up and holds him up for a sack.
I love the addition of Jack Jones. All the plays he made last year will be a great addition for this team moving forward.
Intercepted down the sideline. Intercepted Jack Jones, and he walks in. Touchdown.
And now,
Raiders! All right, now we're good. Let's get to it.
Here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT in Vegas, Lotus Broadcasting in studio today as we are ready to roll. It's our Willie Mays tribute show. Yes, Willie Mays, to say, hey, kid passed away yesterday at the age of 93. We will pay tribute to him today for just a short 2 hours. That's my plan. That's my show. That's what I want to do. Vinny Bonsignore will join me in studio in hour number 2. We'll touch on Willie Mays. We'll dive into the Raiders. You'll get your Raiders content there. But this is a Mount Olympus guy. This is one of the all-timers in all of sports. Willie Mays passing away is similar to Muhammad Ali passing away, someone on that magnitude, period. So we're a sports talk show. We're talking sports today, and there's nothing more important than Willie Mays. With all due respect to Caitlin Clark, I like to talk about her. I like to talk about hockey. Edmonton looks like they're coming back from the dead. Bobby's Boston Celtics won a title. There's a lot of sports going on. Bryson DeChambeau won the U.S. Open. But Willie Mays passed away, and let's do a good job today. Let's do a good job, because I want to do a good job today talking about Willie Mays. And don't tell me you don't have a tweet or a call or an opinion on this, okay? I'm looking at people to step up today and have a Willie Mays story. Maybe you met him, maybe you have an autograph, maybe there's something in your life that connects you to Willie Mays that you could share with us to say, hey, kid, passing away. And I'm going to do a lot of this today, and a lot of it's going to be from my storylines and memories. And I've only met Willie Mays once in passing at a card show that I was at with a couple other people, but not to the point where we shook hands and knew each other. So I don't have deep Willie Mays stories. I put out a text to Pete Rose and Reggie Jackson. They've been good to me. I'm sure they're grieving heavily today, but I put out a text. Maybe one of those gentlemen will pop on. If not, and we'll salute Willie Mays today on the impact that he had on your life as a baseball fan. He's that big of a deal. And man, have we had a rough run here over the last couple of weeks. Jim Otto, Bill Walton, Jerry West, and Willie Mays. And I'm sure there's plenty of other athletes who weren't Hall of Famers and had an impact on your life that might have passed away along the way. But this is very difficult, very difficult. And that's about it. You know, I just heard back from Reggie Jackson. Reggie just texted me. I'm showing my YouTube feed here. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. I'm not making it up. Reggie Jackson said, I'm traveling to Birmingham now. I'll try to call you when I land in an hour. So maybe we'll get Reggie Jackson on the back end of this. Wow, Reggie Jackson and Willie Mays. I mean, this is the soundtrack and my life as a kid. You know, I grew up in New York, a Yankee fan. Willie Mays obviously played for the Mets at the end of his career when I was a young boy. I remember that. And the fact that Willie Mays was my dad's all-time favorite player, and my dad was a Yankee fan who grew up in the DiMaggio Mantle era, right? Same time. And even diehard Yankee fans and Brooklyn Dodger fans from back in that era will say, yeah, it was Willie Mays. You had Duke Snider, you had Mickey Mantle, you had great players, Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra won 10 World Series, 10. He was a 3-time MVP. Willie Mays was a 2-time MVP. But Willie Mays was the greatest 5-tool player to ever live. As you know, he could hit for average. He could hit with power. He could throw. He could defend. And most importantly, he could run. I think his stolen bases of 300-plus put him over the top with a lot of these other athletes. And to get you involved in the show, if you want to talk about Willie Mays, 702-365-9200. There's 3 players that you can never remove from Mount Rushmore. This is non-debatable. I don't care what you think, because I'm asking you for the 4th. Because you cannot move Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, and Henry Aaron. You cannot take them off of any list. You're a knucklehead if you try. So if the 4 greatest baseball players of all time, 3 of them will never change in 100 years, 200 years. You cannot take away the impact and the quality of play of Babe Ruth, who changed the entire sport, put it on the map, the great Willie Mays, the greatest player of all time, number 1, Willie Mays, and then Henry Aaron, where someone would debate against Willie Mays. Those 3 stand. Now, the number 4 player could be Jackie Robinson, Lou Gehrig, Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Sandy Koufax. So again, I do a Mount Rushmore topic when it's available and pertinent. It's kind of pertinent today. So instead of looking for your 4th player, you know, I'm a Pete Rose guy, and the other players out there, just please agree with me that the 3 greatest baseball players, please don't fight me on this, is Henry Aaron, Willie Mays, and Babe Ruth. And that doesn't mention Ty Cobb, and that doesn't mention, you know, Honus Wagner And it goes back to who are the greatest players of all time. Christy Matheson, all these players, they're all old players. And a lot of people say, well, the old timers can't be the greatest. Yeah, they were. They were the best. Mike Trout's great. Ohtani's unbelievable. And don't include Ohtani on any list if he doesn't pitch. Give me a break. Ohtani's not Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth. He's not. He's a really good hitter, and he's a great pitcher, but if he's not pitching, slow your roll on Ohtani until we see him throw a baseball again. I'm not putting him on a list. And then Barry Bonds, and this is going to be kind of uncomfortable here for a second because I want to do the show as a tribute to Willie Mays. I don't want to do a Barry Bonds show today, but this was his godfather. And my godfather is my dad's identical twin, my Uncle Gene. And I have 4 godchildren that I was lucky enough to be chosen as their godfather, and they mean everything to me. So I understand the grieving that Barry Bonds is going through with his godfather and Willie Mays. Now, Barry Bonds lost me in life when he surpassed Willie Mays and had Willie Mays standing at home plate as he surpassed him, and he was knowingly taking performance-enhancing drugs and went from a 500 home run guy to 700 plus. He lost me on that. I'm not saying Barry Bonds wasn't a great player. He was no Willie Mays. He's no Willie Mays. Because don't even tell me about, well, steroids weren't available back then. You see, I'm kind of off the reservation now. I'm going in a direction I don't want to go in. But Bonds could have been on that list without performance-enhancing drugs. But Bonds wouldn't have passed Willie Mays at 660. He would have got nowhere near Henry Aaron and Babe Ruth. He wouldn't have. No chance. No chance. And Bonds was a great player. He didn't have an arm. He wasn't good in the outfield with an arm. He had no arm. He could play the position. He was a good defender, and he could run the bases and do that. But Willie Mays was a far better player than some of the greatest players of the modern era. Alex Rodriguez before his troubles. Frank Thomas, friend of the show. Albert Pujols, one of the all-time greats, right? With the numbers to back it up. So for Willie Mays, the fact that he was in 24 All-Star games, in 1951, he was the Rookie of the Year. Then he had to leave Major League Baseball for 2 full seasons, almost 2. He started off 52. Then, obviously, as he was drafted for the war, he missed the season of 52, 53, comes back in 54. In 54, and he wins the MVP. That would be similar to LeBron James winning the Rookie of the Year, which he did, then having to leave the NBA for 2 full seasons for some war effort where he was drafted and could not play, and then come back after that and win the MVP. You can't even wrap your head around it, can you? That's what he was able to do. On top of the fact that Willie Mays was a brilliant Negro League player, playing in the Negro Leagues, and what he did in Birmingham, and the fact that they made him wait to become a pro. And they started him off in the minor leagues, which is baffling to me because he came into the league and he was the best player arguably in the league his rookie year. The All-Star games mean a lot because I talked to Pete Rose about all of those All-Star games, and he wanted to win every one. Then he went to the Mets at the end of the year and caught a great Mets team in 73 and was on that team. And then I remember the talk at the end of his life of Willie Mays struggling to catch balls in the outfield. Who cares? That was at the very, 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 very back end of his career. And then they showed the video of him at 50 years old. 50 years old. 50! In an old-timers game at Shea Stadium where he tracked down a ball in the outfield and dove and caught it, which like 30-year-olds couldn't make that catch at the same time. Just wild stuff. So for Willie Mays, the impact he had, I guess the best way to describe this is Willie Mays the greatest player of all time. I'm good with that. You know me well. Normally, I'm not good with that. Normally, I'm like the Babe Ruth guy. Get off Babe Ruth. Get off his cape. Get off of Babe Ruth, who led the league with home runs and had more home runs than teams in the league combined. That'll never happen again. But I have no problem. And then it comes down to Henry Aaron versus Willie Mays. Just like it should come down to Kareem and Michael Jordan. Maybe not LeBron and Jordan. It should be Kareem. And then Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio. Oh, my God. Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio? No, they were not as good as Willie Mays, but you can argue it. But I am sitting here, blessed to be on the radio show today to celebrate the life of the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. From the stories of him playing stickball in front of little boys, in front of his apartment in New York, on his way to the game, buying the whole neighborhood ice cream, to being one of the really great pioneers in advertising in sports. Okay, we're talking print advertising magazines and Willie Mays being a global icon. I put Willie Mays on the short list with Muhammad Ali. I've had Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus on that list. Really, I think Jack deserves it more than Tiger for obvious reasons and all the transgressions of Tiger's career. You look at Ali, there weren't many players that were known and recognized all over the world. Willie Mays was. And he lived a long life. And I think when we've seen this lately, Bill Walton died too young. Jim Otto died and had a great life. It was the same exact age as Jerry West. And Willie Mays lived into his 90s and was fantastic. And if you ever went to a Giant game or saw him out at a ballpark, wherever he was, they put the camera on him and the crowd would go crazy. The Raiders put out a nice X tweet about this on their social media. Raiders did a classy job. Raiders really do a good job with all of that. And that's about all I got. I just wanted to say that you probably have better stories than I do. If you want to celebrate Willie Mays, it should be a celebration of his life today. And the fact that it's going into this Negro League game, this look back from, which is going to be tomorrow night in Birmingham, where he got his start and was their greatest player, along with Henry Aaron in the Negro Leagues and Josh Gibson, who we just found out that the Negro League stats are going to now transfer to Major League Baseball. It's very appropriate now. Isn't it really eerie in a weird way that Willie Mays died before this big game in Alabama and Birmingham? So they're going to pay tribute to him this way? That is fascinating. Bobby's got a couple of sound bites from Willie Mays and his career. He'll be weaving it into the show. Let's play one.
Here is Mays, who has hit 4 balls right on the nose today, 3 for homers and 1 a line drive to center. Now the 2-0 delivery, and Mays sends another one. Tell it, bye, baby. Aaron doesn't even move. It's gone far up into the center field bleachers. Willie Mays has tied a record, 4 home runs in a game. The county stadium is going mad.
So that is his 4 home run game of Willie Mays, and that goes back to April 30th, 1961. Chris in West Oakland leads us off on a very special show as we pay tribute to Willie Mays. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, JT, yeah, you said it. Here we go again. God, we're doing this just way too many times, it seems, in the last couple of weeks. But, we grew up a lot the same, JT, as sports fans with our fathers. It's funny. You had, the Yankees. I'd say we shared Reggie Jackson because I had him in the early 70s. You had him in the late 70s in New York. Your dad had Willie Mays in New York. Well, my dad graduated high school in 1960. The A's didn't move to Oakland until 68. My dad despised everything San Francisco, as you know. Live. I was a kid, 7 or 8 years old, saw him in the 1973 World Series in Oakland when he was still playing for the Mets. I remember him stumbling in the outfield, actually losing a fly ball in the sun, and probably costing the Mets a game and maybe the World Series. And I remember my dad saying, that's not the real Willie Mays. And, another thing, I agree with you, JT, 1,000% about the Mount Rushmore, the first 3 guys. I don't believe there's any debate. I think you need a separate Mount Rushmore in baseball for pitchers. But as far as position players, I'm with you on the first 3. I think there's as many as a dozen, maybe 2 dozen guys you can argue with the number 4. But the top 3 are untouchable. And Willie Mays might be the best of all. I've always said if I could go back in time in baseball, and I do this with every other sport, pick one guy to see at the absolute peak of his powers, it would have been Willie Mays. And you said it. The guy lost 2 prime years of his career. Instead of 660 home runs, he's probably got 730, 740. And hell, he might have enough, like Tim Kirchin said on ESPN. Mm-hmm. How many home runs did he lose playing in Candlestick Park before it was enclosed that horrible wind off the bay used to knock down? Again, it's a sad day. But again, this guy is arguably the greatest player of all time. And I'm with you. It's hard to argue that point, because there's so many different guys, but I have no problem with saying Willie Mays is the greatest baseball player of all time. And the only time I ever got to meet him, JT, was at an A's-Giants game, and it wasn't really meeting them. You know how the Coliseum's situated. It was in the late 1990s, in the interleague play. The A's were playing the Giants. Me and my father were sitting in the second deck, kind of like Raider Morton seats used to be for the Raider game. That back row. Well, guess who's in the box right above us? Willie Mays. You met my dad a couple of times, JT. My dad wasn't starstruck. He never liked to bother athletes or anybody he saw. Willie Mays was sitting right over us. We both shook his hand. And by the way, if anybody ever shook Willie Mays' hand, you'll know it felt like you felt like your hand was in a vice.
Mm-hmm.
The man, it looked like his hand was like a ham with fingers. He practically crushed my hand. He shook my dad's hand. My dad just said, "Hey, nice to meet you. You were always one of my favorite guys." I never saw my father giddy or show any real emotion over meeting an athlete except for Willie Mays. And this was from an Oakland guy that despised San Francisco. So, again, probably the greatest player of all time. If you want to argue Henry Aaron, that's up for debate, but not on this day. Rest in peace, Willie. Anybody that got to saw this guy play, they should consider themselves lucky. And, again, this is happening way too often, JT, but the older we get, I guess it's going to keep happening a little more. So, shot at Crown Royal. Rest in peace, Willie. You are the greatest, and the baseball world will never be the same. Thank you, my brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Nice job, Chris, as always, leading us off here. Great phone call on Willie Mays. My story, I had my wedding here in Vegas, and I had 7 guys in my wedding party, and my best man, and I got them all gifts. And one of my cousins, I got him a Willie Mays autographed baseball. Authentic, real Willie Mays. My other person that was a baseball guy, got him a Mickey Mantle ball. And at that time, it cost a decent amount of money, but not what it would cost today. We're talking 25 years ago. So I'm coming up to my 25-year wedding anniversary. And I remember my cousin opening that gift on my wedding rehearsal night and in tears, in absolute tears, that he got a Willie Mays baseball. And just the stories, the impact that he had from Two Coast. And Chris made a very good point. Everybody's talking about how many home runs did Willie Mays lose at Candlestick Park with the wind blowing in, and the Polo Grounds. Remember the Polo Grounds, the early part of his career, the home runs. That was one of the toughest ballparks to hit a home run. And then his 2 years of military service where he played a lot of baseball in Virginia at the time, but he had to give up his craft of playing professional baseball. I mean, what Bob Feller had to give up and Ted Williams and those who had to give up years of their career to service. I mean, Willie Mays would have been a 30 home run guy, 40 home run guy. We're talking about the difference in, as Chris said, maybe Willie Mays being the all-time home run king. You never know where he played today. There's a lot of bandboxes today, a lot of places where the ball flies out a lot easier than in San Francisco. Jared is in Las Vegas on 920 on our Willie Mays tribute show. Go ahead, Jared.
Hey, JT, real quick. 1975, I believe, I don't know, 15 years old. It's Willie Mays' last All-Star game. So he gets a ball to center field. I don't know if it was he caught it or it was ground ball. But when he threw it home, the announcer said that would have been a perfect strike if it was a pitch at his age in 1975. A perfect strike from dead center field. That's it, JT.
Thank you. You know, again, who had a better arm? Who could run the bases? Who was better all time, first to third, with Roberto Clemente and some of the speedsters who have played, Jackie Robinson. You know, when we get back to that, who's the fourth guy on the Mount Rushmore with Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, and Babe Ruth? On that tweet that I sent out at JT the Brick, a lot of people came back with Jackie Robinson. And I think that Jackie Robinson was maybe the most impactful baseball player of all time. Impactful. But I don't think that Jackie Robinson, I don't have him better than DiMaggio or Gehrig or Ted Williams. I don't. But some people do. But what we're talking about is Willie Mays. You're not going to hear anybody ever, not in your lifetime or way after your lifetime, ever debate Willie Mays being on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest American sports athlete icons in the history of this proud country of ours. It's really a great life. And it's a good day to celebrate him. It's kind of slow for football. We got some content coming up at the Raiders, but for Willie Mays, I could talk about him all day long over a cigar and a beer and listen to some of the old timers. A lot of people are in our chat talking about celebrating him tonight and some of the great players of all time. I'm really interested in watching the game tomorrow night and how that's going to look. And I think it's must-see television because it's a perfect time to watch Major League Baseball. Watch Major League Baseball pay tribute to Willie Mays. And the Giants are a class act when it comes to that too. And from Willie Mays Plaza, you know, I live right across the street above Momo's. I lived in San Francisco 2 years as they were building Pac Bell Park at the time. Oracle, but it was Pac Bell back then. And that's when I was doing 8 hours a day, which has never been ever approached before by anyone other than me. 8 hours a day, 3 in the afternoon, noon to 3, then 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I would come home at 2 a.m. and I'd have to go to bed. I was exhausted, and I'd hear the bong and the iron workers building Pac Bell Park and building Willie Mays Plaza. I remember all the years that I would continue to go back to San Francisco. If it was Mick and Hayward or someone else or a Raider fan that was going to the game, I'd say, hey, meet me at Momo's and let's walk in past the Willie Mays statue. One of the best statues. I'm a big statue guy. I love me some statues. I'd love a Legion Stadium to have a Stabler statue or somewhere down the road. You don't have to just play in Vegas. I love statues. Is there a better one than Willie Mays at Willie Mays Plaza right there in front of that gorgeous ballpark? It's a great place to meet and have a beverage, and I'm sure there's probably flowers and roses out there. 702-365-9200. Help me out today on the Willie Mays tribute. Vinny Bonsignore will join us in studio next hour, and we'll continue going with that. A lot happening around here in Vegas. We have our new programming coming up, which Bobby and I are working on. We started talking about it today, the top 10 Raider games of all time. You wouldn't believe how many people are debating this one. What do you have at number 9 and 10? If you got to leave out the Sea of Hands or Red Right 88 or Ghost to the Post, which one do you leave out? I'll give them an honorable mention. I'm going to mention it, but I'm going to go with 10. 10-1, and we're going to debut that on July 8th before we head to training camp in Costa Mesa on July 23rd. Feels like it's a long way away, Bobby, but it's not. It's not a long way away. 702-365-9200. Happy Edmonton won to keep that series alive. That's going to be a little bit of sports fun to watch along the way. And the Willie Mays catch and what he was able to do in the World Series. We have the sound of that coming up. Willie Mays tribute show on the flagship of the Silver and Black.
It's the morning tailgate.
Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, on Antonio Pierce's leadership.
You have a coach right there that's going to be able to keep the locker room together. I know it's early. The vibe from AP is what's going to make the Raiders next 5 years be something that I think you can believe. Is it better than Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? No, I'm not telling anybody it is. Is it going to be, I think, playoff caliber year in and year out? Yes.
All right, what do we got here? Robert
right
Hart.
huge.
Where is Alex Leatherwood
Tailgate.
today?
Weekdays
What a
at
disaster
7
that
a.m.
pick
on
was.
Raider Nation Radio, 920
Yeah.
a.m.
My sports fans, it's the herd. In sports, we often talk about a difference maker.
While later,
Well,
you're
in
thinking
business,
about going to
there are
Miami
difference
and New
makers as
Orleans.
well.
So am I.
Ford
Miami's
Country
a
in
must.
the
I
Valley
don't like the
Auto Mall is
date in
one of
New
them. With
Orleans.
every new vehicle
I
purchase,
just don't like
you
that
get the
December
Ford
28th
Country
date. I
difference.
think they
Free
screwed
dent,
us on that.
scratch, and windshield
Between
repair,
Christmas and New
key
Year's and the
replacement
Sugar
for a
Bowl.
full year. In addition
But
to
I'll
great
probably
service
be
and
there, no
unbeatable
doubt.
pricing, you get game-changing protection exclusively at Ford Country in the Valley Auto Mall. Check them out online at FordCountryHenderson.com.
Ricky Henderson was
Backing down
special
has
going
never
from
been an
first to
option for
third.
our family.
Absolutely. Willie
My
Mays,
father battled communism
Ricky
in Cuba
Henderson's on the
before
short
coming
list
to the
too.
U.S. and studying law at night. Today, we proudly carry on that Castroverde family legacy. As brothers raised to fight for what's right, care for those in need, treat clients like family, we bring the very best legal team to fight for you. It's our heritage. It's the Castroverde way. We're the Castroverde brothers, and we have your back.
BrothersWin.com.
Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? My...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Remy Martin is the official cognac of the JT the Brick Show. When you're celebrating any of your team's victories, celebrate with Remy Martin Cognac, XO, VSOP, and 1738. Remy Martin, Team up for excellence.
Treasure Island has the best food and entertainment the city has to offer. The Cove Bar and Arcade, a brand new hotspot featuring a wide variety of video games, golf simulators, shuffleboard, and more. A perfect place to let loose and have fun for all ages. And if you're looking for a luxurious and intimate experience, visit the Alexandra Spa and Salon. This hidden gem offers a variety of spa treatments, including baths, wraps, facials, haircuts, manicures, and pedicures, with special packages for men and couples. Come visit Treasure Island where parking is always free. Must be 21 years or older. Please drink responsibly. Management reserves all rights.
Yeah, the
This
phones
JT
pretty
from
much
Las
suck
Vegas'
around here
Premier
this time
Cigar
of year.
Lounge,
They do
La
suck.
Casa
I
Cigars
mean,
and
you get Chris
Lounge
and
at
West Oakland,
Tivoli
you got a
Village.
couple of
You're going to
people,
be
but
blown away like
I
I
mean,
was
people
when
should
I
be
stepped
very
into their
fortunate
walk-in
and happy
humidor.
that I take
Over
phone calls. I don't
500
read
cigar
text. I
labels
don't
to
do
choose
that.
from. Plus,
I'm
they
more
feature
about
one of the
hearing
largest
people, and
whiskey,
this time of year,
scotch,
it's
and
like,
bourbon
a
selections
lot of people are
anywhere in the
checked out
valley
other than me.
with live
So when we get
local
a nice call,
entertainment
we'll
7 nights a
appreciate it.
week.
When we don't,
Great
we
place
just
to
go
watch
on.
football games.
And I talk.
Check it out
I
at
love to talk. We don't have to take one
lacasacigars.com.
call here ever for
Bailey
me to do a
Chevrolet
great
is
show, but I
Nevada's
love
#1
good calls.
Chevrolet
You think on a
volume
day when
dealership.
Willie Mays
Again,
died,
find new
it would
roads.
be pretty much turnkey, but no, you gotta remind people that they're allowed to call in because people are addicted to their phones and they're looking at Twitter and they're looking at Instagram. And I mean, I wouldn't want to be a fucking radio host 10 years from now because I don't think anybody's ever going to call a radio show in the next 5 or 10 years. This is the last of the last of the last people doing this.
Personal injury law has been the
It's easy to
same
talk
for
to
a
7
long time.
people that are on your
We've
staff
had
behind
enough.
the glass
Welcome
and
to
make fun
Salmon
of their
Ash,
haircut
the
than it
new
is
standard
to
for personal
get
injury
someone
law,
motivated
where
to
things
match
are
my
done
intensity.
the right
I'm
way.
good with that.
Because you
I know
deserve
that
a
every
team that
day.
delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change.
Raider Nation, I love this shirt again. Again, I like the style of it, man. I just love this shirt. Go ahead and make my day.
Here we go.
Best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
There's a long drive way back in center field, way back, it is gone! Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
The Willie Mays catch in the World Series, the greatest catch of all time, as Chris and West Oakland texted me to say that about that catch. He made a great point. That great catch in the World Series physically could not happen today. It was 460 feet away from home plate where he caught the ball. There's not a ballpark in the majors that's not a homer anymore. And very important. He's right about that. Willie Mays, someone said that his range was foul pole to foul pole. And if he wanted a ball, get out of his way. He's going to go catch it. Great arm, a 5-tool player. I mean, is there anybody else today that you would think that you could compare to Willie Mays? I really can't. I mean, when it comes to comparing anybody to Willie Mays, that would be a fair comparison. A fair comparison. The only player, and I'm a big Derek Jeter guy, right? Derek Jeter. Mariano Rivera is the greatest closer of all time, no debate. There's a lot of good, great baseball players. The player that jumps out at me that could have been in the category of Willie Mays was Mike Trout. And then Mike Trout just got too many injuries. He's injured again. Trout, you look at Trout's first 5 years, they were Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle. I thought that Bryce Harper had the ability to be a type of player like Mickey Mantle. And then we've seen, Ronald Acuna Jr. had the injury this year. Mookie Betts. Let's get Mookie Betts here fighting through an injury. Mookie Betts is a 5-tool player. I mean, he plays shortstop. He'll play center field. I mean, that's like Willie Mays-esque and all the other players that are out there. So we're paying a tribute to Willie Mays. I was saying to YouTube and to Bobby before we came back live on the radio, 5 years from now, no one's going to take calls on the radio. This is over. This is the end of call. You're welcome to call in. Someone died, call in. That is going to be over in 5 years from now. Good luck getting into sports radio 5 years from now, unless you got like 9 guys to talk to and want to talk to a guy behind the glass. The days of talking to people on the phone are coming to an end. I don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 8, but it's coming to an end. So be appreciative today that you can call into one sports show or a couple, because I know Vinny's in for Q today. He's going to do it too, on the life of Willie Mays. 702-365-9200. Bobby, we have the Willie Mays retirement speech clip here, which is a good one. I want you to hear this because, Willie Mays has been a Hall of Famer for a long time. He went in first ballot right after his great career.
I hope that with my farewell tonight, you would understand what I'm going through right now. Something that I never felt that I would ever quit baseball. But as you know, it always comes a time for someone to get out. And I look at the kids over here, the way they are playing and the way they are fighting for themselves tells me one thing. Willie, say goodbye to America. Thank you very much.
Willie Mays, one of the great last speeches and goodbye to baseball. At the end, he played a long time, 24 All-Star games. And with the length of that career, at the end, was he an All-Star as he kept getting elected and going back? Well, that's debatable at the end. The All-Star game is for stars, All-Stars, and they kept bringing back Willie Mays. But he was a very productive player. And when he came to the Mets, he was the defensive productive player overall. And for our Bay Area listeners who are listening in the Bay, and we know who you are, we see the streaming numbers from the Bay. That must have been fascinating to go to a Giant game. And with the Bonds years were very difficult because I was there for the Bonds years. I was in the locker room. I was at the games and I was doing radio pretty close to the Bonds world back then. And Bonds was an angry dude. He was really angry. He was bad to some teammates. He was really bad to the media at times. He was terrible. I was in the locker room one time. He came out with a towel. He looked like he was just a tiger let out of a cage. What are you all doing here? That was his line. What are you all doing here? Willie Mays didn't treat people that way. And I think that Bonds is atoning for this. So I talked to a friend today. I had a meeting today this morning over at Virgin. Got some exciting announcements coming with Virgin Hotel there. And we were talking about this topic. And this should soften Bonds up here in the next couple of days. I think that San Francisco loves Barry Bonds, even though the majority of San Franciscans who went to the games knew he was cheating, knew he was aggressively cheating with performance-enhancing drugs, and they kept giving him a standing ovation, which I always thought was very unique. This is a guy chasing his godfather, working with Victor Conte and Balco, the clear and the cream, who never could have hit that many home runs, never could have got that big, never was a power hitter, never, like Willie Mays. And he surpassed Willie Mays and flew by Willie Mays and Henry Aaron. And the pocket of fans in San Francisco, I'm not blaming them for this because I watched it with my own two eyes. They were in the middle of drinking cold beer and eating Gilroy garlic fries and wearing a pullover sweatshirt in the summer and watching these Bonds balls land in the water in McCovey Cove. Well, he was tracking down Willie Mays. Those were Willie Mays he was tracking down before Babe Ruth and Henry Aaron. And I had a really bad taste in my mouth when he passed Willie Mays, and Willie Mays was forced to be involved with all that because he's his godfather and loves him. And then you got the great Bobby Bonds and his relationship with him. And that was something that for me, because I wasn't a Giant fan, I was very uncomfortable with that because I said, this isn't right. And I'm hoping that Barry Bonds here in the coming weeks and months and at the celebration of life and all that, I'm all for forgiveness, man. I apologize all day long. I make a lot of mistakes in my personal life, and I apologize for it. I hope that Bonds is looked at differently here. I would keep Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame forever. This isn't a popularity contest. Baseball's Hall of Fame is the toughest one to get into. Okay, if your feelings get hurt, too bad. You're not getting into Cooperstown because he went from maybe getting to 500 home runs to shattering 700. Okay, and we know how he got there. Willie Mays lost he lost 100 home runs playing in the wind of Candlestick. I don't think you can argue that point. But if Bonds, he's not going to admit to cheating because that'll keep him out of the Hall of Fame for life. You can't admit that you cheated. Look at Lance Armstrong. The 7 Tour de France's. Why did he hold on and not admit it? Because once you cheat, your legacy's over. And I'm just hoping that I look at Bonds coming off the next couple of days on the death of his godfather, Willie Mays, and we look at him differently. And I think we'll be able to do that. I'm hoping that Barry Bonds, I know his agent, I know some people around him, really has a big week representing Willie Mays and the family. Mitch, you're holding in Jersey. Mitch, go ahead. You're up next. What do you got?
JT, I agree with you with the ballparks, the loss of time, all that baseball. I'm glad I didn't count the Negro League's numbers. Grace, he played the best position in any sport is center field, and he was tremendous. Great power. I loved him and Willie had to be the best tandem. Willie McCovey came in 59, I believe. What a tandem. What a lineup to face. Should have won more World Series. Thanks for taking
Yeah, thank you, Mitch.
Sorry that phone calls are coming to an end.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch. I appreciate it. No, phone calls aren't coming to an end. I'm just aggravated that I don't have any Willie Mays calls today. I'm aggravated by that. I can do, let's give away tickets and koozies for the 5th Raider fan. I don't do that crap. Today, Willie Mays died yesterday. I want to talk about Willie Mays for 40 minutes or so. I appreciate the call, Mitch. You're always welcome to call. 702-365-9200. And Willie McCovey and Willie Mays, he made a very good point. They should have won more World Series. I mean, the dominance of the Yankees at that point in time, the Brooklyn Dodgers, and when the Brooklyn Dodgers won in 55, Willie Mays winning in 54. And the Yankees were a juggernaut then. The Yankees were loaded. And you look at the players that played at that time, and the Negro League stats now that we're using, and for Josh Gibson, and Willie Mays was a very young player when he came into the major leagues. That's why he had such great longevity. Longevity to me is everything. Sometimes you have a shooting star. You have Gale Sayers. He plays 6 seasons, and he goes to the Hall of Fame because he was so dominant. And if you're a shooting star and you're great for a short period of time, that's important. But longevity also means a lot. That's why when we have the debate of the all-time greats, LeBron James is surpassing Jordan, and he's going to lap Jordan consistently. And people are going to say, these are the type of people who are so ignorant. They're going to say, well, LeBron played longer than Jordan. What? Isn't that good? When Michael Jordan could not physically play anymore after playing 2 years in Birmingham, and we're talking about Willie Mays in baseball, right? And you see all this, and LeBron played, instead of trying to play tight end for the Cleveland Browns, he decided to stick to basketball and go to NBA Finals, and he didn't win them all. What LeBron's going to do in the next 2 or 3 years is something that Jordan physically could not do. And Jordan physically couldn't play in the NBA as a 17-year-old in high school. Couldn't do it. We know that to be fact, not fiction. Well, there are a lot of Negro League players who are better than Major League players by a lot and weren't allowed to play Major League Baseball. Think of those players who didn't have a chance to compete against the great white baseball players. That means the white baseball players would have given up more home runs to the African Americans. Fact. That means the white players would have struck out more to the African American pitchers. We're assuming baseball has got a very dark stain on the history of the sport because so many players could not play Major League Baseball. Willie Mays and Henry Aaron were very fortunate because of the black players before them that helped them become great players in the Negro League to make a transition to Major League Baseball. It wasn't a smooth transition because of all the racial issues that they had to deal with. Imagine going to a ballpark with death threats. Imagine going to a ballpark and there's a drunk guy behind you in center field calling you racial terms. It's a lot different than it is today. I mean, a lot different pressure back then, trying to make it and put food on the table because you didn't make any money compared to the players today. I saw today, Bobby, Pascal Siakam. It's a very nice player. Won a championship with Toronto. Good player. $189 million. What? $189 million on a contract extension, a max with Indiana. Are you bleeping kidding me? Pascal Siakam's going to get $190 more million to play basketball in Indiana for the Pacers. Oh my God, you think of what Willie Mays made. Just crazy. And this is all in our lifetime. A lot of people's lifetime. 702-365-9200. Hey, Vinny Bonsignore is in the building because he's hosting Q's show, I think, for the next 6 days. Q went on vacation. So Vinny's going to be here. I'm going to have Vinny in, and we're going to talk about Willie Mays and the Raiders and the lack of Raider coverage that we're seeing. We got great sound from John Miller on the life of Willie Mays. We have more and more on Willie. Bobby did a big job today coming in early and getting some Willie Mays sound. If you'd like to call in on that, 702-365-9200. Go to our YouTube page. There's a lot of people in there every day. JT the Brick YT. You can find it on my Twitter bio. Subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you can. All right, everybody. I'm going to go do this another 20 minutes or so, and we'll get on to what we're going to do next. Well, pig's pig, we have to compare players across generations, or we don't have any content. We don't have any radio. We don't have any sports. This is why you debate sports. Why can't we compare Babe Ruth to Barry Bonds? I think it's very easy to do that. Now, you might have to come up with something more unique and original, but that's what we do.
Brothers live at In Resort August 2nd. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and In Resort Player Services. In Resort, the official team headquarters hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
When you need legal advice, you need the brothers. You need the DeCastro Law Firm. This is JT. They're my attorneys, and they should be yours too. For personal injuries and accidents, reach out to the DeCastro Law Firm. Let their family fight for yours.
The all-new 2025 Subaru Forester is the same trusted SUV it's always been. Only more so. More distinctive style. More advanced safety technology. And always the confidence of standard symmetrical all-wheel drive. The all-new...
Yeah, Bautista was a very good player. He wasn't Willie Mays. He wasn't Mickey Mantle. He wasn't Mike Trout, but he's a very good player.
36 months on the all-new 2025 Forester. SubaruLasVegas.com.
Here's a surprising fact. Did you know that college-educated Americans often carry more credit card debt than people without a degree? At Panda Law Firm, we know that debt doesn't discriminate based on education. And whether you hold a degree or not, debt can weigh you down. You should not be ashamed to ask for help with your debt. So, if you're struggling with more than $10,000 in credit card debt, it's time to call Panda. Our experienced team is ready to help you get out of debt. If you've got debt, get Panda. Call Panda Law, 702-848-3888.
Zip Zap Auto has expanded into one of the largest independent auto repair shops in the Valley. With 23 bays, over 12,000 square feet, Zip Zap is your one-stop shop, offering 24-hour smog test, oil changes, detailing, bodywork, engine, and transmission rebuilding. And Zip Zap provides free towing and diagnostics with qualifying repairs.
It's going to be Willie 600.
Okay.
24-hour service. Zip
Gotcha.
Zap Auto at Cheyenne and North Durango Drive, and online at zipzapauto.com.
GiveMeTheVin.com is America's best car buyer. Paying top dollar for your car, truck, sports car, exotic. What are you waiting for? We want to buy your car right now. Find out why thousands of satisfied customers across the United States put more money in their pocket buying homes. GiveMeTheVin.com. I told my buyers, let's get them bought. Right now is the time to go.
Sell us your car. Running a business gets more complicated every year, so you need a trusted advisor in your corner.
I got a guy in the chat talking about Ohtani being the greatest player. Anybody want to guess without Googling how many wins Ohtani has as a pitcher? Guess. Close. No, you're not even close. 38. People are making him out to be Steve Carlton saying he got 38 wins. And he pitched in 18, 20, 21, 22, 23. He's not pitching for the Dodgers. I mean, I think he's a brilliant player. Don't get me wrong.
Let's put a little longevity. Let's see a couple rings. You know?
740-4380. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
This is JT for Grimaldi's Pizzeria, that famous New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza that you crave. 4 locations in the Valley, Volca Park in Summerlin, on the Strip at the Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow, and Green Valley on Southeastern Avenue.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
Here's the pitch to Willie. Swung on, hit deep to left. That one is way back, way back, way back. So that's goodbye, number 600 for Willie Mays, and the bye-bye Baby Bonanza. And the Giants come to home plate to greet him. Number 600 for Mays. He hit it over the 370-foot mark. A standing ovation here in San Diego for Willie.
Didn't know Willie Mays hit his 600th home run in San Diego. How about that? JT, back with you. We're paying tribute to Willie Mays today. We got Raider content coming up with Vinny Bonsignore next hour, and we'll continue with our Willie Mays coverage here. I got to assume that there's some fans who either know of Willie Mays, heard of him, watched him play, know how he is as an icon, or just care about baseball. 702-365-9200. And we're talking and celebrating Willie Mays' life. The same thing we did with Jerry West, Bill Walton, and the great Jim Otto. And we talked a lot about Jim Otto when he was the first of these legends to recently pass away. You know, someone in the chat, and I appreciate everybody coming in on Twitter and everybody talking about, you know, who's the 4th player all time. And I keep seeing Ohtani's name. And I keep wondering what I'm missing here. What am I missing here? Ohtani, anybody want to guess how many wins Ohtani has in his career as a pitcher? Anybody like to guess? Just say it in your car. Say it, you're listening by your computer. Say, JT just asked me, how many, Ohtani's supposedly this great pitcher, right? He can do something that no one can do. He can hit and pitch. Okay, I agree with you. I see it all the time in Little League. The best player is the pitcher and the hitter. How many wins do you think Ohtani has? Anybody? That would be 38. He's 38-19 lifetime as a pitcher starting in 2018. And it's 2024 and he doesn't pitch anymore because he's injured. I want him to get healthy. I want to see him pitch every 5 days. Please pump the brakes with Ohtani. Okay? Pump the brakes on Ohtani when we're talking about Henry Aaron, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Pete Rose, Ted Williams, please, with this Ohtani stuff. Now, if we want to assume Ohtani is going to be the next whatever, I'm okay with that. I got the stats here right in front of me. Very good hitter, very good player, very good. No problem with that, but stop putting Ohtani on any bleeping Mount Rushmore. You sound stupid. He's a great player, and currently he might be the best player in the game. He doesn't have the numbers of Aaron Judge. He does have in some categories. But Judge and Ohtani are very similar right now. And the last I looked, Ohtani doesn't pitch and neither does Judge. So it's an easy comparable for me to make. And I love great baseball, man. But Willie Mays, he's on the top of the list. I believe, and I know a little bit about this because of my dad and talking to baseball players my whole life and being a fan, I think that it's fair to say Willie Mays is the greatest baseball player. He died yesterday at 93. The only two I think you can compare him to are Henry Aaron and Babe Ruth. If I'm missing something, let me know. Big Jose in San Jose. You're up next. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, JT, thank you very much, as always, for being the platform of giving it to us how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate your integrity of the sport. Love your shows.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to call in and say that I'm a lifelong baseball fan. I grew up an A's fan because my father was a diehard A's fan. But living here in the Bay Area, you know, even though before I really became a knowledgeable baseball fan, it was Willie Mays, right? Because I'm 57 and going on 58 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just a wee little kid when he was playing the Giants before he left back to New York. Not to really appreciate his greatness, right? But then now looking back in hindsight, you know, I feel really blessed. My dad had always said that Willie Mays was the best player who ever played. And I feel blessed to have grown up here in an era where I got to see, you know, players like, you know, Ronnie Fingers and, you know, and arguably the best leadoff hitter of all time, Ricky Henderson.
Yes.
And even one time when I worked in tech in about 2013, I was walking down the street towards Ruth Chris Steakhouse in downtown San Francisco, and I ran into the Willies, the Mayor Willie Brown, former Mayor Willie Brown, and Willie Mays. And I'm telling you, that was a moment where I felt like starstruck. And I worked, with some, like I used to work with Roger Craig in Tech. I mean, so I met some athletes, being an athlete, but just the representation of those two icons of what they mean to the Bay Area is a moment I'll never forget. And I'll always appreciate having had the opportunity to be around at a time, when Willie Mays' greatness was in the Bay Area. And I just wanted to say rest in peace to probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time.
Excellent phone call. Excellent phone call, Big Ose. I appreciate that. I needed that one. Needed to know that there was someone breathing out there and knew who Willie Mays was. Great job. Fantastic. And we're the same age, the caller and me. And again, I just remember my dad. The conversation would always come up, Mickey, Willie, or the Duke, right, in a song. And I can understand why Brooklyn fans love Duke Snider, who was a brilliant player, a legendary Dodger, why the Polo Ground Giants of New York love Willie Mays. And Mickey Mantle, this is a tough one. I think Mickey Mantle at times was better than Willie Mays. The Triple Crown years and what he did, obviously many more World Series, a great slugger. And Mickey Mantle, before his knee injury, was faster than Willie Mays on the bases. But I think Willie Mays was a better 5-tool player than Mantle, who struck out a lot. But they were iconic. And Willie Mays wasn't a guy staying in a bar till 4 a.m. drinking, right? That's what Mickey Mantle did. How many home runs did Mickey Mantle leave at home plate because he was hungover? Because instead of going to bed at 11 at night with Yogi, he went to bed at 2 a.m. or 3 with Whitey and Billy and wasn't at his peak to play the next day. You never heard that about Willie Mays. You didn't hear that much about Henry Aaron. You didn't hear it about certain players at that time. But those guys lived a different life. They partied more. They smoked a ton of cigarettes. They drank a lot of beer. They drank a lot of beer in the locker room. But for Willie Mays, I think one of the things that jump out at me are the 24 All-Star games. Because all the times that I've ever called Pete Rose, and I hosted the Pete Rose Show, which was a big break in my life, and Pete talked about how badly they wanted to win. The National League president would come in and be raising his voice on how important it was to win the All-Star game. And you had teams where Pete Rose was on with Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Willie McCovey, those great National League teams. Recently, it's been a big run on the American League teams, right? The American League teams have dominated the baseball All-Star game. But for Willie Mays, they took that seriously. The bonus that they got, the money, the share that they got for playing in the playoffs, and the ability to go back home. I just remember Willie Mays growing up in New York as a kid when the Mets in the 70s, I'm just a young boy. And Willie Mays was everywhere. He was on the cover of the newspaper every day. He was on television commercials. The Mets were on live TV for me on Channel 9. I had the Yankees on Channel 11. We're talking about our local channels. And Ralph Kiner's interviewing Willie Mays. Those are memories that will never escape me. And Bobby, you grew up in Boston, and the same with you with Yaz and all those great players at that time and even beforehand. That's a big part of the backdrop of our lives.
See, I had Channel 38 with the Red Sox, but on Saturdays on NBC, you get Kirk Gowdy and Joe Garagiola, and you get the game of the week. And that's where you see Pete Rose and Willie Mays and all the other players.
Hey, one last thing on that when you mentioned Kirk Gowdy. So today, as I was at home this morning, I turned on NFL Network to see if there was any news, and they were replaying the entire Raider game of their first Super Bowl 11, the entire game. So I sat down there, and I've watched it before, but I only watched about 10 minutes. So the Raiders were up 16-0, and I noticed how conservative Minnesota was, taking the full huddle, handing it off up the middle, punting constantly. And then the Raiders punted at the end of the first half. So I think there was 7 seconds or 17 seconds to go until halftime. And Ray Guy, who had a punt blocked earlier in the game, where Minnesota didn't take advantage of it in the goal line and score. So anyway, the Raiders punt, Ray Guy punts, and the guy that comes down to defend the punt is Morris Bradshaw, friend of the show. And Morris got clipped badly. And Kirk Gowdy is on the call with Don Meredith, and they say, man, that Morris Bradshaw is going to be the next big receiver here on the Raiders. They go, the Raiders like to groom their players. It takes a couple of years. And I texted Morris Bradshaw, and he got right back to me. I said, Mo, unbelievable highlight in the Super Bowl. He got dinged, banged up, but was the first one down there, and I watched that today. And Bobby reminded me when he said Kirk Gowdy. Those broadcasters back then were great. And how about Vin Scully? Didn't meet Mickey Mantle until 2016. That's going viral. Where Willie showed up in the booth with Vin Scully. Vin Scully was calling his games in the 50s, but didn't know him. And met him in 2016. Maybe we'll play a little of that. Hour number 2 coming up. Vinny Bonsignore will join us. You don't want to miss that as we continue with our Willie Mays tribute, brought to you by Modelo, the number 1 beer in America. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Joel DiMaggio. Players in the 80s used Coke like it was whiskey. Pigs. They did. A lot of people did in the 80s. Raise one for Willie tonight, Tony. I agree with you. Ken Griffey Jr. is as good as Willie Mays as a talent. I think Willie Mays had a better career than Ken Griffey Jr., but Ken Griffey was right up there. Today is what? Wednesday? We'll be back for a Thursday show. Got some guests coming. You can obviously listen on the app now or listen on Raider Nation Radio. Appreciate everyone. Hey, hit like and subscribe on the way out. I greatly appreciate that. Yep.